We may have a lot of Pikmin games now under our belt with 4 and a spin-off on the 3DS, but at the same time we've always visited the same planet, PNF 404, which a lot of people believe to be Earth in the future. But with that said, we still have no clue what happened on this planet, or if this even is Earth. Is it another planet that was colonized by the humans? Is it actually Earth after a catastrophic event? Did the humans just upright leave or disappear somewhere? There's a lot of stuff to uncover and unpack here, and today I'm going to try to figure out and dive deep into what happened on PNF 404, based on Pikmin 4. Now before we get started and dive into these crazy theories, stop what you're doing real quick, it'll only take a second, and leave a like and subscribe. You guys have been absolutely killing it, getting us closer to our goal of 250,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you enough. So without further ado, let's jump into the theory of PNF 404. So first off, we need to figure out where Pikmin 4 takes place, and there's a lot of theories online based off of the data that we've gotten from this game. A lot of people believe that this is a complete retcon of all the other games in the series. Lots of the dialogue makes it seem like this is the first time Olimar's ever crash landed on this planet, while some others believe it's still a direct sequel to Pikmin 3, and some even believe that it could be a prequel before all of the other games in the series. And I think I'm actually on team prequel, at least for this video's theory. So we're talking about the planet that Olimar crash lands on, and eventually the rest of the explorers and even the rescue corps. What is this planet? Well, this is PNF 404, and Miyamoto himself has stated that the design of this planet is based off of that of Earth in the future where humans are extinct. Now this was actually specifically stated for Pikmin 1 and 2, which probably tells us for the entire series that this planet is actually Earth in the future. But where it starts to get kind of confusing is if this planet actually is extinct of human life, what happened here? Because everything in Pikmin 4 seems to be in absolute mint condition. Literally, there are no broken buildings, there are no ruined areas, everything just looks like it was once left there and humans just jumped up and left the area. There's even some sections that let us see the inside of buildings. For instance, one of the caverns is actually just an aquarium. I mean, literally, if you look around, it looks like a really high-end aquarium that's just sitting here all these years with no humans to come look at the animals. Let's not forget Hero's Hideaway, because there's lots of appliances and stuff that's still working. The lights are on, the stove is on. I mean, like, what's going on with this place? Everything is just left on the ground as if the kids were coloring and just left their stuff on the floor and just left. The windows are open, everything within the house itself still is perfectly fine. I really don't know what happened here. But in order to figure out what's going on with this planet, let's go back to the past games for a little bit. Pikmin 1 and 2 once again had Olimar and also his partner Louie crash land on this planet in both games. And it's the same planet, PNF 404, where Olimar meets the Pikmin. Now if you look at the environments within Pikmin 1 and 2, they're all destroyed. It definitely looks like an apocalyptic event, as a lot of the colors are duller, the environments look more beat up, and lots of the treasures are deep buried underneath the soil of this area. There are no houses, there are no playsets, there are no gardens or backyards, just regular terrain, as if this is just a wasteland of a planet. The closest thing we actually have to show any type of human presence is this toy-themed underground area, and also one with bathroom tiles on the floor. One theory you could have is maybe all the caves from Pikmin 2 is the civilization that's buried underground by years and years and years of restoration, where dirt and moss and overgrown tree passageways kind of just covered everything that once was. All the houses, all the cities, all the towns, all the areas are just completely buried underground now. Of course, we see some of these areas in Pikmin 4, and if Pikmin 4 is indeed a prequel to all these games, it would kind of mess up this theory a little bit, but back to that in a second. Pikmin 3 is also very much in the same boat as Pikmin 1 and 2, and definitely follows up from those two games, as the environments are still very much wild in nature, as there are no houses or structures from past civilization, once again showing that this is well after the apocalyptic events that's happened on this planet. But before we start dissecting things, let's talk about the planet itself. This is probably planet Earth. Miyamoto has said it several times, and there's even continents that reference that of Earth Earth from Pikmin 1 and 2, we can see Olimar and Louie actually landing in a continent that looks exactly like Africa. However, in Pikmin 3, all the continents are starting to forge together, and this is definitely inspired by Pangea Ultima. What is Pangea Ultima? Well, it's a future theory that all the continents are going to once again form together into one supercontinent, and that's what the map actually looks like on Pikmin 3. So whether this is a reworking of the planet or maybe a next step of its evolution of the continents now forming together as it's far into the future, maybe even a lot further than Pikmin 1 and 2, yeah, this is kind of the modern take for the planet. I also wanted to point out that in Pikmin 3, we can also see a glimpse of the moon that's also right above the Earth, which once again proves that this is probably still Earth. But for Pikmin 4, it's almost impossible to ever see the planet. Every scene we get is just a lot of clouds that are covering the oceans of the planet, and then before we can even see the continents and the actual land masses, it's always covered by a dark shadow, which kind of sucks. I mean, it almost feels like it's on purpose how much they shadow the planet in this game. I mean, even at the very end, they kind of eclipse the planet where it's just a complete dark circle and you can't see any of the continents, which I wonder if it is on purpose. I mean, the closest shot that we have of Pikmin 4's planet is the intro of the game where Olimar is describing his crash landing with a drawing of the planet. And based on the cluster of continents, it looks like it's keeping a kind of reference to that Pangea Ultima again from Pikmin 3, just one giant massive supercontinent. So yeah, there's not enough evidence with the continents to make a conclusive theory based on just the planet itself and the way it's changing from each game. It looks like it's always slightly different, so it's hard to say if this is actually confirming that this is before the other Pikmin games or still after. But I think the evidence is actually more than made up with the fact that we still have proof that humans were here, because everything's still intact once again, like the homes and the structures, the playgrounds, and even the backyards and gardens, as if the humans just now were extinct. And maybe this is a prequel, where the humans just got wiped out right before these explorers landed on the planet. Now there is a very important character slash creature in Pikmin 4 that might help this theory out a little bit more. But before we dive into it, I have to give a spoiler warning because it is for the very end of the game for Pikmin 4. In fact, it's the final boss battle that you fight in this game. So once again, big spoiler warning before we get into it. Alright, let's dive in. Pikmin 4 introduces a final boss creature which I think is very interesting to the overall story because it's a giant dog, which is pretty much the theme of this game, which is space dogs with Ochi and Moss, this one being apparently the sole proprietor for why there's space dogs all over the galaxy. He is the big space dog papa, the one that started the whole lineage in the first place. Now, what's so interesting about this creature is it's a traditional dog. You can even see a collar on his neck as if it had a leash and belonged to a family, which is very interesting indeed. And maybe it belonged to the family of Hero's Hideaway or another neighboring house that's still up in this game as well. Now yes, we see crazy, wacky enemies that reference real-world animals all the time in Pikmin 4. I mean, that's pretty much the purpose. It's just all these creatures and animals that mutated and changed over the years since the fallout of humans on planet Earth after a millennium of time has passed. But we never really got any domesticated animals or creatures that referenced humans directly. I mean, yeah, we've actually had the Bulborbs, which were like the closest to dogs technically, but this game actually gives us literal dogs. And it still looks like a dog. I mean, the only big difference is it only has 2 legs, but overall, it's a dog at its core. And the 2 legs might be due to some type of, amputation or maybe even some type of mutation, but we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, this is a dog coming directly probably from some type of human family, which is the closest that we've seen humans kind of interact with the Pikmin. And for this dog to still be alive, it tells me that whatever happened to the human race probably happened relatively recently. But what exactly happened to this pup's owners? Did they just completely vanish? Were they kidnapped by aliens? Did they turn into dust from some type of nuclear fallout? Or did they just up and leave and somehow lose the dog or forget about him? I mean, look, how do you forget about him? Now, we just discussed the caves in Pikmin's 1 and 2 and how they just didn't quite make sense with the theory that they're just buried civilization, because if Pikmin 4 indeed is before, how come, there's houses and everything else is above ground in Pikmin 4? Well, Pikmin 4 also has these caves. There's caves with bathroom tiles on the ground and also toy blocks and structures all over this area, which looks like to be another mini version of a home. So maybe there's still some buried civilizations or maybe buried homes or structures? Not necessarily. If anything, one thing this actually reminds me of is maybe they're underground bunkers. Maybe some of the humans went underground during whatever happened to Earth, and they hid under here and actually just made homes and life here. And to help the kids have enjoyment being underground in these bunkers, they also gave them toys where they made block forts and stuff. That definitely could have happened. And it also reminds me of the story of Alterna from Splatoon 3. And if you're not familiar with that, Alterna was an underground civilization where lots of the rest of the human race actually lived and carried out their lives until eventually getting greedy and killing themselves. And the bathroom tiles could have just been, underground showers and places for people to actually wash up. But once again, the theory does kind of hit a wall, with one of the areas being, of course, the aquarium. Why would there be an aquarium underground for people just trying to survive underground in a bunker? Yeah, I know. So maybe it does support the other theory of it just being, other parts of civilization that has been buried underground by whatever happened above. But once again, if this aquarium is buried underground, how is it in perfect condition? Why wouldn't it be broken and destroyed all around? I don't know. So that's just one thing that I really can't explain right now because maybe Nintendo just didn't care. So who knows? That's definitely up to you guys to decide that one. But let's go back to the ancient sire hound because he might actually help to explain what happened to this world. Now, once again, you look at the games of Pikmin 1 and 2 and it looks like absolute disaster all over the world. It really just looks like a wild, different planet than Earth, almost as if everything was destroyed and buried. So maybe there was a nuclear fallout. Maybe something actually did happen, but not in the area of Pikmin 4. Maybe Pikmin 4 was actually missed by whatever missiles or rockets actually blew up and destroyed everything. But if it was a nuclear fallout, that nuclear radiation is still all over the planet, which is mutating the wildlife like we see with all the creatures, and even with the dog being ancient sire hound having 2 legs could definitely explain that. And also, something else is explained thanks to the ancient sire hound. Of course, it has the ability to manipulate and use different elements, such as ice, fire, and electricity. But there's a 4th one that's very strange. It's some type of poisonous nuclear substance that makes him glow green and even allows him to fly with its ears in the air. So yeah, that tells me that maybe some of that radiation seeped into the ancient sire hound and gave him these abilities. Once again, he glows green and shoots out this red poisonous toxic chemical that kills off every single Pikmin, even the white poisonous ones and the glow Pikmin alike. And what makes this even more interesting is it's not the only creature with abilities like this. Yes, the Smoky Prog is even able to have very toxic chemicals shoot out of it as well, and it just looks like it was some type of victim to a nuclear radiation leak. But we know thanks to the in-game logs that the Smoky Prog is actually a premature Mammuta egg that has hatched, but I do think radiation had a factor on, the way it looks and the way it actually hatched like this. So yes, maybe this nuclear fallout, as the dog was left above ground, was actually able to corrupt him and change the way he looks and also acts and its abilities to manipulate different elements and status effects, which is kind of sad for the poor dog and that the family is just now gone. But yeah, it does question, once again, where's the family now? Well, maybe some are still living underground somewhere. Maybe there's still some bunkers that we haven't seen or caves where there are still people down there. Or maybe they just all died off after lack of food and being down there for so long, and the rest of the humans died from the blast of the radiation, or maybe just from the constant radiation over the years. It's hard to say, but it definitely looks like humans could definitely be all extinct on planet PNF 404. So yes, this timeline is a little bit all over the place, and until Nintendo explicitly comes out and states what's going on, is this a prequel, a sequel, or just a rewriting of the story, we'll never really know the true story of what's going on with this planet and what happened to the human life that once thrived on it. From all the special goodies, fruits, and objects that we find in this game, it's safe to say that they definitely belong to humans, as they're all different types of human objects, but what happened to them is still going to remain a mystery mystery, at least until the next installment. But before we close out, an extra quick fact to talk about that radiation again might also explain why some of the creatures are developing leaf tails, like the dogs themselves. That might actually be due to radiation, and the more time they spend on this planet, the more time it will infect them. We actually do know that there's oxygen in the air thanks to the explorers having life support in their suits that filter out the oxygen, but what if it's just radiation that they can't take in, and they actually could breathe oxygen? But something else that's very interesting is Alamar's Geiger counter is always in motion, which might also show that there is still lots of radiation all over the planet due to some type of nuclear fallout. So what do you guys think is going on with this planet? Let me know your theories down below, and also let me know your theories on why do explorers keep crashing on this planet? Because there definitely is some type of external force or something causing this, and it will definitely help for my next video. Because with over 50 different explorers crash landing on this planet in Pikmin 4, it definitely shows that something fishy is going on. But thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things Pikmin and Nintendo in general, and like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.